If you're the kind of person who can't get enough fast-paced action, demons, and oversized swords, Devil May Cry is undoubtedly the franchise for you. And since the new season has just dropped on Netflix, we believe that this is the perfect time to talk about it. Though the series might not seem too complicated at first glance, it still has a surprisingly deep lore that definitely deserves to be studied. Thus, in this marvelous video, we'll be taking a look at the most integral character in the entire series, Dante the Devil Hunter. This is a man that does it all. He's a paranormal mercenary, a private investigator, and a fiercely capable devil hunter who's hell-bent on eradicating all malevolent forces from our mortal world. However, before we dive into this journey through Dante's entire life, please take a moment to hit the like and subscribe buttons. It might just be a small click for you, but to us, it means an awful lot. Now, without further ado, let's begin. Dante's early adventures in the DMC novel and manga. Surprisingly, little is known about Dante's origins, even though we've known the guy for a couple of decades by this point. However, if we are to truly understand this demon hunter and the motivations behind his character, we have to begin right at the start. Dante and his twin brother, Virgil, were born through the strange union between the legendary demon Sparta and his human wife, Eva. Despite this, the family lived a relatively peaceful life near the Red Grave City, where Sparta taught his two sons the ways of war. For most of his childhood, Dante was actually completely clueless about his father's demonic heritage. On Dante's 8th birthday, his mother Eva gave both of her sons one half of the Perfect Amulet, an ancient artifact that had once been used by their father to seal away the demon world. For a long time, Dante and his brother have lived in what most would consider to be a happy family. However, we've consumed enough fictional content at this point to understand that good times never last. One day, tragedy struck their household as demons invaded their home and killed Eva. This attack would also separate the two young twins, with Dante eventually believing that his brother Virgil had perished. Following the attack, Dante would fulfill his mother's last wish by distancing himself from the demon world and hiding under the guise of a new identity. The name he picked for himself was Anthony Tony Redgrave. Some years later, Dante would find a new home as a woman posing as his mother took him in on Morris Island. Here, he would also form a close friendship with a boy known as Ernest, but soon, the demons attacked them again, causing Dante and his caretaker to flee town, which had been reduced to ruins by this point. Time passed, and Dante became a mercenary under his Redgrave identity. During this time, he was in the habit of frequenting this one underground bar named Bobby's Cellar, and could often be seen here with his colleague, Gru. He would also befriend the renowned gunsmith, Nell Goldstein, who's the genius behind Dante's iconic pistols, Ebony and Ivory. As a mercenary, Dante also partnered up with a masked individual known as Gliver. Now, the thing is that Gru's daughter happened to be in the hospital, and well, those bills are enough to make any man desperate. Thus, Gru accepted an assassination job that targeted Gliver and ended up discovering that the masked mercenary was actually a demon summoner directly linked to the demon world. In the ensuing confrontation, Gliver would kill Gru. When Dante discovered that his accomplice had been killed, he paid a visit to his daughter's hospital only to find the entire place infested with demons. These ungodly monsters had found a way to transform the whole damn place into a portal to the demon world, forcing Dante into fighting through the demons to get to Gru's daughter. He ended her suffering once and for all, even managing to sever the portal to the demonic realm. After that incident, Dante was ostracized by the other mercenaries, but found refuge at Nell Goldstein's house. But unbeknownst to Dante, Gliver was actually the one manipulating everything behind the scenes. Gliver eventually turns all the patrons of Bobby's bar into demons and attacks Dante head-on. A fierce battle would break out, and Nell would die as a result of it. Though Dante ultimately succeeded in defeating Gliver, he also ended up discovering that the man bore Virgil's face. Though Gliver was just a clone created by the demon lord Mundus, Dante didn't know this yet. The shock of seeing his brother's face on Gliver's corpse would force Dante to abandon his Tony Redgrave persona and go back to his original identity. He would find the courage to use his abilities for good and open up a demon hunting business. In the early days, an information broker named Enzo Farino offered Dante a really good job that involved the rescue of a missing girl named Alice. Dante followed Alice's trail to a demon-infested castle where he realized that the girl had actually run away with a demonic entity known as the White Rabbit. The entity had somehow come to possess the girl's toy rabbit, and during the confrontation, the rabbit revealed to Dante that his brother was still alive. Though Rabbit offered Dante a meeting with his long-lost brother, Dante denied it. The White Rabbit would then strip Alice of all innocence and transform her into a rather lewd adult. When she tried to flirt with Dante, the grown-up Alice was firmly rejected, so in response, the woman turned into a literal demon to attack him. This battle forces Dante to use his devil trigger, which succeeds in subduing Alice without harm. Afterwards, the White Rabbit would confess to the fact that he orchestrated the entire job so that he could witness the power of the legendary Son of Sparta in action. Before fleeing the battlefield, the White Rabbit offered to buy Dante's half of the amulet but was denied. Dante eventually makes it back to his shop and finds Alice patiently waiting for him, but the girl had a secret agenda. While Dante is showering, Alice steals his amulet and leaves behind a map, which leads Dante to an old church. Here, the Mad Hatter, an accomplice of the rabbit, tried to trick Dante into uttering the forbidden and forgotten name of an ancient demon. Fortunately, Virgil intervened before something terrible came to pass. This would be the first time in many years that Dante and Virgil spoke to each other, but their conversation really didn't go well. Dante would realize that his brother intended to raise the Temen Negru, a powerful demonic tower that could open the gateway to the demon realm. Virgil would even get his hands on Dante's half of the amulet, but returned it after defeating him in battle, as he claimed that he could get it back from Dante anytime he saw fit. Now, that's the kind of confidence that should definitely freak you out. Dante's evolution in Devil May Cry 3 and the rise of Virgil. 1 year after the initial encounter with Virgil, Dante is visited by one of his brother's mysterious accomplices named Arkham. Arkham invites Dante to the demonic tower at his brother's request, but all isn't right. As the moment Arkham leaves Dante's shop, our hero is attacked by a swarm of demons whom he defeats pretty easily. Despite this, it's evident that a bizarre challenge lies ahead. We learn that Virgil's ultimate objective is to open a portal to the demon world from which he can claim his father's unbelievable power, which is now contained within a sword known as the Force Edge. Within the tower, Dante encounters a strange demon known as Jester, who leads Dante to further his own hidden agenda. Dante also meets Lady, a human demon huntress who is desperate to seek revenge against her father, Arkham, for the cold-blooded murder of her mother. On their first encounter, Lady mistakes Dante for yet another demon and attacks him. Fortunately, our guy doesn't suffer much damage. As Dante ascends through the tower, he has to fight his way through a horde of powerful demons. He also begins acquiring the demon's souls after their defeat in the form of a variety of weapons and combat styles. When Dante finally reaches the summit, he finds his brother waiting for him at the top. The two engage in battle, with Virgil questioning Dante's denial to embrace his own father's fearsome power. Dante remains resentful of his father's legacy and declares that he doesn't have a father. The differences between the two brothers are pretty clear in the confrontation, and the battle only ends when Virgil stabs Dante with his sword, Yamato, and takes away the other half of the perfect amulet. At the end of this vicious battle, Dante finds himself pretty close to death, but unconsciously awakens the demonic power buried deep inside of him. Though Virgil is intrigued by Dante regaining consciousness, he remains uninterested in continuing the fight and leaves with Arkham. Dante continues to pursue them, but is swallowed by the Leviathan, a massive beast that inhabits the tower. In spite of the unfavorable odds, Dante manages to get back, only to encounter Arkham's lifeless body. Lady arrives right at that moment and mistakes Dante for the killer. She accuses him of robbing her of a chance at revenge. With his last breath, Arkham tells his daughter that Virgil has corrupted him and begs Lady to stop him from opening the demonic portal. We see Virgil struggling to open the portal, even though he apparently has everything needed for the act, including the perfect amulet and Sparta's blood. However, the door remains sealed shut, and Dante catches up with him. The two fighters engage once again, this time on equal footing, even though Virgil has absorbed all the power from the demon known as Beowulf. The battle is interrupted by Lady, who tries to take on Virgil herself. Eventually, when all three combatants have exhausted themselves, Jester appears and reveals himself to be none other than Arkham in disguise. This was all a part of his plan to get all of Sparta's power for himself. Arkham proceeds to explain that Sparta's seal requires not just his own blood, but also that of a human priestess. Then, he reveals that Lady is actually the direct descendant of one such priestess, making her blood suitable for opening the path. Arkham stabs Lady and opens a way into the demon world. As the tower begins to shift and collapse on itself, Dante, Virgil, and Lady are separated from each other. Dante later finds Lady, who's desperate to pursue her father in spite of grievous injuries. In a rare moment of sincerity, Dante stops her from chasing him and explains that her father, Arkham, has attained the form of something that is far beyond human. When Lady asks him why he cares so much, he tells her about his family's tarnished legacy and admits that none of this mattered to him before, but through his interactions with her, he has come to understand the need to make peace with the past. Thus, he promises he'll take care of Arkham for her, and she hands Dante her gun to aid him in his quest. Dante ends up following Arkham straight into the demon world, where he has already already succeeded in seizing Sparta's power for himself. However, he's completely overwhelmed by it and transforms into a monstrous entity. Dante tries to find Arkham in his monster form, but is easily overpowered. Fortunately, Virgil arrives just in time, and after many decades, the two brothers begin to fight side by side. They succeed in separating Arkham from Force Edge, which causes the amulets and the sword to fall into a deep abyss. A wounded Arkham manages to escape into the human world, but is swiftly executed by his daughter, Lady. Meanwhile, Dante and Virgil continue their pursuit of the Force Edge. When Virgil finally claims the sword, Dante asks him a solemn question about what exactly he hopes to accomplish. He reminds Virgil that in spite of attaining such power, he'll never be able to become like their father, Sparta. Virgil dismisses him and declares that he needs his father's power. As expected, they begin fighting once more, but this time, Dante stands victorious. As the demon world begins to seal itself off, Virgil refuses to leave even though he's heavily injured. He declares that the demon world is their true home and carries away his half of the amulet with him. As he plunges into the abyss, all that Dante can do is watch as his brother disappears again. Upon returning to the human world, Dante retrieves his father's sword and reunites with Lady. He returns her gun, but she manages to catch a glimpse of him crying, but he brushes Lady off nonchalantly, stating that devils never cry. And it's pretty clear that even devils can weep when they lose something or someone close to them. There's no time for that though, because demons arrive and the duo have to battle it out once more. The first mission in Devil May Cry, and Virgil's return as Nello Angelo. The next time we see Dante, it's already been 10 years since his battle with Virgil. During this period, Dante has grown into a renowned and established demon hunter thanks to his father's sword. He seems to have parted ways with Lady, but the two are still in contact, and she calls him every once in a while when a job gets too difficult for her to handle on her own. Then, one day, Dante's office is attacked by a mysterious woman named Trish who bears a really uncanny resemblance to his mother. He fends her off easily during the assault and eventually learns that this is just a test of his strength. Trish then reveals that Mundus, one of his father's oldest enemies, is making a return to the mortal plane through a place known as Mallet Island. Dante decides to accompany her to the island, where Trish suddenly vanishes, leaving him in a demon-infested castle all alone. Inside, Dante encounters many of Mundus's minions, including Phantom, a massive spider-scorpion hybrid, whom he's able to defeat through multiple encounters. He also faces Nello Angelo, an extremely powerful armored knight who completely overwhelms Dante during their first encounter. Despite winning, Nello reluctantly retreats when he spots Dante's perfect amulet, which contains a picture of his deceased mother. After losing to Nello, Dante keeps getting deeper into the castle and begins battling numerous lieutenants of Mundus, such as the terrifying bird Griffin and the lethal bioweapon Nightmare. Along the way, Nello continues to hunt him, and when they fight for the third time, we learn that Nello is none other than Virgil. After falling into the netherworld, Virgil was soundly defeated by Mundus, who made Virgil his slave. In his final moments, Virgil's half of the amulet fuses with the one held by Dante and unlocks the true power of Sparta's sword. Later, Dante reunites with Trish, only to discover that she is one of Mundus's agents who lures him into a trap. Despite this betrayal, when the room is destroyed during Dante's face-off against Nightmare, our hero saves her from being crushed. After all, she resembles his late mother. Before leaving, he warns her to stay away from him. When Dante finally confronts Mundus, he's about to execute Trish for her failure. Though she isn't exactly trustworthy, Dante tries to save her yet again, but she suffers significant injuries in the process. Mundus fires a deadly beam at the hunter, trying to finish him off once and for all, but Trish sacrifices herself to save Dante. Enraged beyond reason, Dante unleashes all of his power and transforms into a demonic form like his father. The battle continues in the demon world, where Dante's new abilities allow Mundus to overpower the sinister emperor. After defeating Mundus, Dante returns to the castle, which is on the verge of complete collapse. Here, he finds Trish's lifeless body and leaves the Sparta sword and amulet with her corpse. Just as Dante is escaping, Mundus reappears and uses the last of his strength to follow Dante into the human world. Defeating Mundus again is a struggle, but Trish returns and infuses Dante's guns with her magic. With this new power, Dante successfully banishes Mundus back to the demon realm. Even as he's fading away, Mundus threatens to make a return one day. Trish finds herself ridden with guilt for deceiving Dante and begins to weep. Dante reassures her and tells her that her tears prove her humanity. The two escape Mallet Island on an old plane and become partners. $1,000. Dante's demon hunting shop finally gets a fitting name, Devils Never Cry. For many years, Dante and Trish continued to work together and developed a close friendship. During one of the theory assignments, an old acquaintance, Enzo Farino, ends up reaching out to them to investigate some ancient ruins. In the ruins, Enzo discovers a demonic gun and begins to suspect that the weapon was crafted by the legendary demon and gunsmith Machiavelli. Enzo realizes the danger posed by the demons and quits his previous job to start a pawn shop where he stores Dante's demon arms.
I've got a lesson for you. Successful gambling is something you can't do without an accomplice.
Expanded lore from the Devil May Cry animated series and drama CDs. On a fairly ordinary day at the office, Dante is hired by his broker, J.D. Morrison, to escort a young orphan girl named Patty Lowell to her father's house, where she is to claim her inheritance. We soon realize that she's just a decoy for the true heir and decides to take up residence with Dante. Despite her innocent appearance, Patty's lineage seems to hold secrets far darker than Dante expects. We also see that Dante gets frequent visits from both the lady and Trish, who continuously annoy him over his debts. Though the two women clash with each other initially, they soon form a close bond. Dante is also reunited with his foster brother Ernest, who has spent years trying to clear Dante's name for the demon attack on their hometown. To prove Dante's innocence, Ernest resorts to summoning the demon that invaded the town and is nearly killed in the process. Dante intervenes and defeats the creature, but Ernest realizes that the demon has targeted the town because of Dante. Thus, he turns on his own brother and ends their relationship. Eventually, Dante encounters the twin brothers Baal and Modeus, who were both former apprentices of his father Sparta. Though Modeus is friendly towards Dante, Baal challenges Dante to a duel the moment he realizes that his late master had a son. Unfortunately, Baal is killed by Dante in the duel, which leaves Modeus no option other than to avenge his fallen brother. Though Modeus fights with all his might, he's not a match for Dante and perishes in the fight. To honor his fallen rivals, Dante erects a memorial marked with their twin blades. Afterwards, Patty's true origin comes to light as it's revealed that she comes from the line of Alan Lowell, who used to be a powerful alchemist who ended up summoning a demon that was beyond his control, Abigail. Unable to destroy the demon, Alan sealed her away and left behind a pendant that now serves as the key to its astonishing power. The pendant was eventually passed down to Patty's mother, Nina, who gave up Patty for adoption as she feared for her safety. Due to some really efficient manipulation at the hands of Sid, Demon, Nina entrusts the pendant to Dante. However, when she grows uneasy and asks for it back, she's abducted by Sid, who now seeks to control Abigail's power. In the hopes of finally meeting her lost mother, Patty steals the pendant from Dante, who hands it over in exchange for Nina's safety. Sid then frees Abigail and defeats Dante, trapping him in a comatose state within the demon world. While Sid is busy terrorizing humans with his newfound power, Patty steals the amulet to enter the realm of demons and awaken Dante. Now, with his strength completely restored, Dante easily defeats Sid and his demonic comrades. Patty is finally reunited with her mother and leaves Devil May Cry, but she continues to visit Dante occasionally in order to keep his shop in order. In another instant, Dante finds himself indebted to his old friend Enzo Farino. In order to prevent Enzo from selling his demon arms, Dante convinces Morrison to deliver his warnings to Enzo. Morrison visits Enzo, accompanied by Lady and Patty, but they witness a mysterious woman selling a strange puzzle. When the lady touches the artifact, she's suddenly taken over by an evil entity. Dante arrives at the location unarmed, but is able to negotiate a deal with Enzo, in which he promises to save his business in exchange for the erasure of his debts. Enzo agrees to the deal, and Dante uses Cerberus and Alistair to take on the possessed lady. He destroys the mysterious puzzle without causing his ally any harm. We later learn through Trish that Lady was never possessed. In fact, this was all a scheme to retrieve the demon's arms to lure out the demon hunting them. Trish also hints that Dante, not wanting to drag Enzo into the whole supernatural debacle, had come up with the plan. The demon is quickly slain, and Dante returns the devil arms to Enzo. Patty, who's utterly confused by Dante's willingness to put himself in debt again, follows Morrison to gain more information. Morrison proceeds to explain that Dante sees this as an act of friendship rather than a financial obligation, leading Patty to realize that Dante's debts stem from something more than laziness. On another occasion, a woman named Foster, who runs Patty's orphanage, hires Dante to rescue some kidnapped children. The demon, disguised as Peter Pan, abducts the children and takes them away to Neverland, where he convinces them that they're a part of the Lost Boys, while Dante is Captain Hook. Trish defeats the demon and brings all the children back to safety. Soon after, the Devil May Cry crew finds themselves being investigated by Steve and McClane. However, they are soon cleared of any suspicion whatsoever, allowing them to continue their business safely.
King? Yeah. Here's your crown.
The Devil May Cry 2 arc, and Dante's mysterious sacrifice. In the second novel, Dante is hired by a fellow devil hunter named Beryl who wants to destroy the Beast Heads. These rare, essentially mystical artifacts contain immense power, all created by the demon lord Mundus. Beryl knows about these since her father had once attempted to use these objects to resurrect his deceased wife, but the power was too great for him to wield. It transformed Beryl's father into a demon, and he was shot down as he tried to flee. During this incident, Beryl was also stabbed by the Beast Heads, due to which a connection was established between her and the objects, allowing her to sense their presence. Dante and Beryl set out on a journey to recover the Beast Heads and find themselves going up against a criminal syndicate that wants to harness the Beast Heads' powers. Once they battle the Beast Heads themselves, the artifacts activate, and their abilities pull them into an alternate reality. In this strange world, Mundus succeeded in capturing Dante as a child, while his brother Virgil, now Nello Angelo, becomes a warrior who led the resistance against the Demon Lord and his army of Trish clones. This alternate version of Virgil then recruits Dante to overthrow Mundus. They succeed in their plans, and Dante goes back to his own reality, where he destroys the Beast Heads once and for all. In Devil May Cry 2, we learn that many years ago, Sparta had helped to seal away a powerful demon named Argosax. Argosax had once fought Mundus, and the two great demons had split the entire demon world between them. Using 4 mysterious artifacts, Sparta succeeded in trapping Argosax on the island of Via di Marli, where a group of human warriors known as the Protectors remained to make sure that the demon remained in his presence. We then travel to the modern era, where Arius, a ruthless businessman and sorcerer, becomes unusually obsessed with the occult arts and demonic artifacts. After acquiring these artifacts, he uses his dark magic to create artificial demons known as secretaries. Among these artificial entities, there's one that's defective, and it's named Lucia. This secretary is eventually rescued by the protesters and raised as one of their own, as they are completely unaware of her origins. Later, as Arius threatens to unleash Argosax himself, the Protectors, led by Matir, summon our hunter Dante and ask for his help. Matir offers Dante information regarding his deceased father in exchange for aid, which leads Dante to battle numerous demons in his pursuit of Arius. Despite this, Dante fails to stop him from gathering all the necessary artifacts. Even though Dante manages to defeat Arius, the sorcerer succeeds, and a portal into Argosax's realm opens. Dante is aware that the only way to truly stop Argosax is from inside the demon world, and thus, Dante proposes to enter the world while Lucia stays behind. In order to be fair, he flips a coin with her and wins the toss. However, Lucia later realizes that the coin was actually double-headed, meaning Dante had rigged the choice to ensure that he would be the one sacrificed. Meanwhile, Arius succeeds in partially absorbing Argosax's unbelievable power and mutates into a demonic form. Heading deeper into the demon realm, Dante takes on Argosax and defeats him. Despite his victory, Dante still has no way out of the realm and ventures even deeper into the underworld. He eventually finds another portal and escapes, and as he returns to his office, he finds Lucia waiting for him. After this incident, Lucia returns to the island of Via di Marli, where she resumes her work as a demon hunter. Dante's battle against the Order of the Sword in Devil May Cry 4. In Devil May Cry 4, we see Lady arriving at Dante's office with a new offer. Turns out that she encountered a mysterious group known as Angelos, which consists of mute suits of armor who are engaged in collecting demons and devil arms. Lady begins to suspect that these warriors are actually demonic in nature, and thus she traces their origins to the Order of the Sword, a religious sect in the town of Fortuna that worships Dante's father, Sparta. Trish also takes a special interest in the Order and decides to launch an investigation of her own. She disguises herself as Gloria and succeeds in infiltrating the Order by offering them Sparta's blade. Due to this, she's quickly granted access to the Inner Circle, where she learns that the group has some really terrifying ambitions. We learn that the Order was founded to exterminate demons after Sparta sealed a Hellgate in Fortuna, but the group's obsession soon led them towards experiments with artificial demons like Angelos and the construction of a colossal demonic entity known as the Savior. This massive statue, created in Sparta's image, is designed in such a way that it can only be controlled using his blood and sword. To power their creation, the group then began opening smaller Hellgates to harvest demons, hoping that their activities would lure Dante to their city. After receiving news from Trish, Dante and Lady made their way to Fortuna. Dante crashes through a glass ceiling during a religious ceremony and launches an attack to assassinate the Order's leader, Sanctus. Dante's attempt is successful, but soon he finds himself facing the group's demonically enhanced soldiers. Before Dante can leave, he's confronted by Nero, a young young knight from the Order who possesses a demonic right arm known as the Devil Bringer. The two fighters engage in a vicious fight where Nero impresses Dante. Despite this, Dante leaves Nero behind and sets out to uncover more dark secrets about the Order. He learns that the group had secretly gotten their hands on the shards of his brother's sword, Yamato. Nero unknowingly restored the katana and began wielding its power against the Order itself. Dante quickly recognizes Yamato and its connection to his twin brother, and he tracks Nero down. Soon, he's faced with a startling revelation. Nero is actually Virgil's son, and instead of reclaiming the blade, Dante lets Nero keep it, as he is now turned against the Order. We eventually learn that the Order's leader, Sanctus, had managed to survive Dante's attack, and he captures Nero after learning about his heritage. Since the blood of Sparta also courses through Nero's veins, Sanctus is able to use it to activate the Savior, the gigantic demonic entity that was originally designed to lead the Order's conquest. Dante witnesses this form from afar and sets out to eliminate the group entirely. Along his journey, Dante continues to close the lesser Hellgates and battles through hordes of horrifying demons. He eventually manages to reclaim the Yamato, which had been stolen from Nero. In the end, he destroys the main Hellgate, completely cutting off the origin of the Order's power. Then, after reaching the Savior, which is in Sanctus's control, Dante realizes that the thing cannot be destroyed from the outside. Thus, he drives Yamato into the Savior's chest and sends the sword to Nero, who is contained inside. The sword's power awakens Nero, and he finally breaks free. He fights through the demons and defeats Sanctus, leading to the Savior's destruction. With the Order completely dismantled and Fortuna saved, Dante prepares to depart. He leaves the Yamato with Nero, and the two share a moment of mutual respect. Though Nero is still unaware of his true lineage, Dante chooses to keep the truth about Virgil a secret. He then returns to his office where he reunites with Lady and Trish. Lady then presents Dante with a disappointingly small pay for all his troubles, but he remains unfazed as they have to take what they can in this line of business. Prequel events from Before the Nightmare and Visions of V. The next part of Dante's story begins 10 years after Argosax's defeat, where we see Dante summoned back to V.D. Marley by Matir. She expresses her fears regarding the fact that Lucia alone would not be able to handle Balrog, who used to be Argosax's former right-hand demon. He is also in possession of one of Yamato's shards, which makes him especially dangerous. Thus, Dante and Lucia team up to confront him together. Here, Dante uses Cerberus to destroy the shard, but in the process, Dante's weapon ends up being shattered as well. After recognizing Dante, Balrog surrenders himself as he's aware that Dante is far too powerful. He then transforms into a devil arm, hoping that one day he'll gain the strength to fight Dante on equal footing. After neutralizing this threat, Dante goes back home, but soon his financial struggles catch up to him. Things get so bad that he loses power, water, and phone services at the store. Eventually, Morrison arrives and informs him that Patty has been trying to contact him for her birthday. He also offers Dante a paid job to settle his bills. Soon after, Dante is visited by a mysterious tattooed man whom Morrison introduces as Dante's new client. When Dante asks for the man's name, he learns that he's simply called V. V explains that a powerful demonic entity is on the verge of being resurrected, and this one happens to be connected to Dante's fate as a hunter. The most surprising thing is that the demon's name is Virgil. This discovery leaves Dante extremely enraged, and he dismisses it as a lie. But then, V mentions a place known as Redgrave City, which finally intrigues Dante enough to chase the information. Some weeks later, Dante, Lady, Trish, and V arrive at Redgrave City via a helicopter and discover that the entire place has been taken over by a massive demonic tree named Clipoff. Lady then asks for the target's name, but Dante has already forgotten the alias they had decided upon. Fortunately, V is there to remind them of the name Urizen. Inside the tree, V suddenly stops and is unable to advance. Dante teases V that the mission might be too much for him, and he's angered that V will stay behind while the others move forward ahead towards Urizen. Dante is the last one to find Urizen, and he discovers that his comrades, Lady and Trish, have already been defeated. Though he recognizes Urizen's astonishing power, it's evident that only one person could be behind it. He's easily overpowered by the demon and doesn't even make it past the defenses. As Dante finds himself helpless, Urizen mocks Dante by calling him a mere bug who's unfit to even stand before his might. Fortunately, Nero arrives on the battlefield just as Dante is about to fall in defeat, but once more, Nero is no match for someone as overpowered as Urizen, and just as a fatal blow is about to finish him off, Dante recovers to block the attack by activating his devil trigger. He orders V to take Nero away and continues the fight against Urizen all alone, but even with his full power unleashed, Dante loses to Urizen, and even his prized sword, Rebellion, is shattered in the process. About a month later, V finds Dante completely unconscious while searching for the devil sword Sparta. V slams the sword into the ground beside Dante and wakes him up from his long sleep. Dante is still in an extremely weakened state, but tells V to leave Nero out of this. Along the way, Dante faces and defeats Cavaliere Angelo, freeing Trish from his grasp. grasp. He leaves her to rest and advances on his journey. Soon, he arrives at the ruins of what was once his childhood home. Here, he stabs himself with the Broken Rebellion, triggering the awakening of his most powerful form yet, Sin Devil Trigger. Inspired by this, Dante flies to Kliphof and breaks down its walls. He reunites with Nero and V, only to learn that Urizen has already made it to the top of the demonic tree. Nero insists on coming along, but Dante only agrees to this as they don't have time to argue. However, along the way, Dante ditches his companions and goes off on a separate path. This time, Dante is the first to reach Urizen, whom he finds inside an illusion of their childhood home. He tells Urizen that Eva had died looking for Virgil during the demon attack that destroyed their home, but Urizen dismisses it as he no longer cares for the past. Before Dante can step forward and stop him, Urizen consumes Kliphof's fruit and gains the immense power he's always desired. This leads him to shed his previous form, and he challenges Dante to a final battle. Dante, who is now completely transformed, overpowers Urizen and defeats him, but as Urizen is reduced to a weakened state, Nero and V arrive at the location. Here, Nero finally learns the disturbing truth. Urizen is none other than Virgil himself. V approaches the fallen Urizen and claims that he actually wants to end things with his own hands. Dante allows this, but suddenly realizes that V and Urizen are actually two halves of the same individual. Before Dante can stop him, V merges with Urizen, and Virgil stands reborn. Dante's final confrontation in Devil May Cry 5. The story continues in Devil May Cry 5, where we see what happens after Virgil is reborn. Soon after his brother's rebirth, Dante attacks him, but Virgil refuses to fight Dante in his weakened state. Out of sheer confidence in his abilities, Virgil insists that Dante heal and grow even stronger before they settle their differences once and for all. Before disappearing from the battlefield, Virgil thanks Nero, making it evident that there's a hidden bond between the two. Dante tries to send Nero back home once more, but he continues to refuse. Furious, Nero blames Virgil for manipulating him to regain his power, and Dante for allowing him to keep Yamato in the first place. As the disagreement escalates, a frustrated Dante finally reveals that Virgil is Nero's father. Dante admits that he had this hunch ever since he first met Nero, but didn't want the youngster to bear this burden. As Nero processes this revelation, Dante sets off for Kliphof once more to face his brother. Before reaching the top, Dante has a brief reunion with Trish, Lady, and Nico. Nico provides Dante with a brand new rocket launcher, the Kalina Ann 2, which annoys Lady a lot. Dante then tells his friends to leave while he takes on his brother alone. On advancing further, Dante is ambushed by Griffin, Shadow, and Nightmare, who are all V's former allies. Now free from V's control, they are true embodiments of the tormented remains of Virgil's past, such as Nello Angelo. A fierce battle ensues, and Dante questions why they'd even want to fight him after knowing that they stand no chance. After defeating the familiars, Dante realizes that the destruction of these familiars will cause Virgil's nightmares to finally end. Thus, he just bids them farewell and continues on his journey. When Dante finally reaches his long-lost brother, he demands that the Yamato be handed back to him, but as you might expect, Virgil refuses this demand, and the two brothers engage in a showdown for the ages. During this fight, Dante also reveals to Virgil that Nero is his son. Virgil is shocked momentarily, which amuses Dante, as he's intrigued about how Nero was conceived. However, the focus shifts to their battle once more when the two brothers reveal their Sin Trigger forms, which might just end their rivalry once and for all. Before the battle is finished, Nero intervenes, and we learn that he has awakened his true Devil Trigger form. Virgil and Dante are both surprised by this transformation, but Dante maintains that this isn't Nero's fight. Enraged, Nero sucker punches his uncle, leaving Dante amused. As Virgil and Nero begin their own fight, Dante decides to step back and watch, completely indifferent to Virgil's suggestion that beating Nero is equal to beating Dante himself by default. Strangely, Nero defeats Virgil, causing Kliphof to collapse. Dante and Virgil put aside their rivalry for a moment and decide to destroy the tree together. They realize that to truly accomplish such a thing, they must head into the demon world where they might never actually return from. Dante makes light of the situation, but it's clear that the stakes are really high. Despite Nero's pleas, Dante tells him that since he's now here, the two brothers can finally leave. The brothers step through the portal, assigning Nero the duties of the new protector of the world. Now trapped within the demon world, the two brothers battle endless hordes of demons and cut down Kliphof's roots to put an end to its destruction. Along the way, their rivalry takes on a friendlier tone, and they spar while demons interrupt their duels. As the story ends, we see the two sons of Sparta together again, fighting the demons of the demon world. Now, that's what you call a poetic end. Dante's appearances across other canon and non-canon media, alternate timeline and side stories in the Devil May Cry comics. In the Devil May Cry comic adaptation of the first game, which was published by Dreamwave Publications in 2004, we get 3 issues involving Dante. However, the story was never finished as the company went bankrupt. The first book, titled The Evil Woman, contains a prologue that depicts Sparta's battle against Mundus from 2,000 years ago. We are later introduced to Dante and Trish. Here, we see all the events from Dante's arrival on Mallet Island to his battle with Phantom. In the second book, Super Beast, Dante's 3 encounters with Griffin are depicted, while his first encounter with Nello is also showcased. The third book, titled Allied Angel with Scabbed Wings, has Dante battling it out with Griffin on the boat. Guest appearance in Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. As part of a deal with the company Atlas, Dante, in his Devil May Cry 2 avatar, makes a guest appearance in the updated Maniacs version of Shin Megami Tensei 2 Nocturne. In this story, an event called the Conception kills every human inside Tokyo, save for a few who might hold the key to recreating it. Dante is mentioned by an NPC before the event as a strange foreigner in a red cloak with a big sword. He arrives after the Conception and is hired by a mysterious old man to kill the protagonist Demi-Fiend. He faces the boss twice in the game and can later be recruited to the party at the entrance of the 5th Kalpa. Dante's cameo and role in Beautiful Joe. Dante is a playable character in the PS2 version of the game where he's there to save Trish. He also appears in the PSP version as a bonus character, lending his biplane Carnival to Captain Blue for a scene in his movie. Dante's appearances in the Marvel vs. Capcom series. Dante is also seen in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, where he appears in his Devil May Cry 3 look and gains new moves like Horizontal Gunshot and Air Shotgun Blast. In the story, Dante is one of the heroes fighting Ultron Sigma, a fusion of Ultron and Sigma, who has gained great power through the infamous Infinity Stones. He ends up joining heroes like Thor, Mega Man X, Chun-Li, Rocky, and Hawkeye in an assault on Ultron's secret base, X-Guard. When Doctor Strange finally arrives on the scene, he discovers that Thanos has been imprisoned, thus, a rescue team is sent, which confirms that Ultron Sigma is too strong for them alone. Dante is portrayed as a hothead in this game, but also shows much greater control over his devil trigger. He ends up clashing with Jeddah while displaying far more enhanced demonic traits. Street Fighter V Arcade Edition crossover appearance. In this game, Dante appears as a costume for Ken Masters with 10 variations. All of these costumes have the same look, but use different colors. Dante's role in Shin Megami Tensei Liberation DX2. Dante could also be acquired by players in Shin Megami Tensei Liberation DX2 during the Devil May Cry 5 collaboration. He acted as an enemy in one of the story chapters, sporting Rebellion along with Ebony and Ivory. Hero power and deck details in Teppen. In Teppen, Dante takes on the role of one of the game's main playable heroes and features unique hero arts that differentiate him from the other leads. He appears on multiple cards within this game. In the story mode, Dante is shown to be on a devil hunting mission where he encounters Morrigan. During their battle, he spots a child caught in the crossfire and rushes to her rescue. However, this allows Morrigan to transform into her human form and escape. Just as Dante is about to launch another attack, X intervenes and states that he believes Morrigan is a normal human. This leads to a fight between X and Dante. Despite this skirmish, Dante continues his pursuit. Later, he's approached by a strange woman who gives him a cryptic message. Before Dante can even process it, his path is blocked by Chun-Li, which leads to a final battle in the story mode. In the last cutscene, Dante recalls the woman's words, Mundus and the Land of Illusion. Marvelous verdict! Despite Dante's dark past, he remains one of the most likable video game characters ever. Even though his morality has been tested quite a few times, he always makes the right call, even going against his own blood at times. Perhaps that's what makes him a true hero. We can't wait for him to show up again, and honestly, we couldn't be more excited about his upcoming Netflix appearance. Anyways, that's about it, but let us know which one of Dante's avatars you like the best in the comments down below. What's your favorite Devil May Cry game, and how did you meet the infamous Devil Slayer? Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all of our marvelous content. Unfortunately, that's all we got for you for now, but thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.